Hello and welcome into the Sporting Pod. Along with Tony Allegretti and Mauricio Ruiz, I'm Cole Pepper. Today on the pod, we hear from two new players coming to Jacksonville, what Tony saw at the USL Super League final, and what to expect between now and the start of training camp for Sporting JAX. We are fed by the Bearded Pig, locally owned and operated, with the original location in San Marco. Make sure you swing by the Bearded Pig for great barbecue and great times. All right, this week, Sporting JAX announced the signing of four more players: Maddie Kemp, Sophia Bowman, Paige Kenton, and Katie Sullivan. I had the opportunity to speak with a couple of them already this week. Looking forward to talking to the other two soon. The four, let me just give you a brief thumbnail on these four players. All are coming out of college, having played this past season. Maddie Kemp started her career at Gonzaga, finished her final year at Kentucky. This is becoming a somewhat more common situation with the extra COVID year and so forth, where somebody could be a grad student somewhere. And I'm interested, by the way, to see if that continues with more opportunities for women's soccer players professionally. But one season at Kentucky after Gonzaga. In 5 college seasons, 28 goals scored for Maddie Kemp. That's pretty good. Sophia Bowman, a 2-time captain at Minnesota, scored 24 goals and 17 assists for the Gophers. And she had some level of all Big Ten honor every year she was there. She was on the all-freshman team. She made the third team once and the second team all Big Ten twice for a program in Minnesota that really had a nice trajectory during her time there. Paige Kenton went to Penn, where she graduated magna cum laude with a neuroscience degree at Penn, and then went to Delaware for her final year. And Katie Sullivan is the second all-time goal scorer at Johns Hopkins. Also happens to be number 2 all-time in assists at Johns Hopkins, and is a high-energy player for sure. So before we hear from these two, I will tell you that this group of four, they're all roughly the same age.
Youth movement.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's going to be this balance in the roster of young players and veteran players with experience and international stars and so forth. But this is a very highly accomplished group of college players coming in.
Yeah, getting individual awards and accolades in the Big Ten's nothing. In Minnesota is such a good soccer, landscape. All of those are really impressive, and I can't wait to watch them.
Mauricio, we've talked for years about how to properly balance the roster. You want to have some established players, but having these stars for the future, even if the future is now, but beyond that is really important.
Well, we also talked about what are the lessons that we have learned from the first year in the Super League. So, our technical staff have gone around to the other teams and they've looked at how their rosters were made up. Not to say that you copy and paste anywhere. In fact, you shouldn't, because a lot of times it doesn't work. But they've done a deep dive into the other rosters and seen where can you get the most success, not just short term, but long term, as we just saw Tampa Bay do. So the balance between our first signings, local players, right? Players that were part of the fabric of the organization. I think that's really important. Then a second batch or veteran players that have an experience playing professionally. And now you're investing in what I'll call the core, right? Like the players that are going to make up the majority of the roster, which are youngish players. I mean, players in their early 20s that have gone through a college, a career. So they're mature, they're seasoned, they know how to endure an entire season. Obviously, intelligent young women that will speak well into the organization, but players that can give a lot more in the next several years. So yeah, it's kind of how you balance the roster, and you take a look at teams that got to the final, or Florida Friends here in Fort Lauderdale and Tampa Bay. Their rosters were quite similar. Some young local players, a good core of college players that have excelled in the college. Some unknowns, and I think we'll have some unknowns as well. But then you have those young players as well that are for the future.
All right, let's hear from a couple of them. Sophia Bowman, again, mentioned a 2-time captain at Minnesota. And I asked her how she decided to sign with Sporting JAX.
So I just finished my 5th year at the U mid-semester because of COVID. So I finished that in end of December. And then I was with the Kansas City Current for a couple months there. I started as a trialist and then was a practice player with them for a bit. And then while I was there, I was like working through kind of where I was gonna play next and sign. And my agent got connected with Sporting JAX, and then I ended up having a call with Stacy and Mark, and I really liked them and liked kind of the plan they had in mind. And so then, went through all the details and got all signed and everything. So yeah, I'm super excited.
So there's Sophia Bowman, and
Minnesota.
Definitely Minnesota.
Coming too.
Yeah,
Yep.
Her family's from Minnesota, and you definitely get that. One of the things I love about a soccer team being put together is the disparate geographies that are going to be represented. Whether it's
we're around the
internationally-
world, yeah.
or
Mhm.
Again, you've got Georgia Brown from Oxford, England.
Yep.
You've got Zara Siasi from from Florida, and has spent the last 5 years here in Jacksonville. Parker Roberts, who grew up in Kansas City and then came to Florida and played at the University of Florida and Orlando Pride, and she's got family around here. Another one who has a family connection to Jacksonville is Katie Sullivan, who said that she's been thinking about Jacksonville for a while.
Yeah, so I've been kind of a fan of the Super League. I've been following it throughout this year, like even when I was in college. And I heard that there was going to be a team in Jacksonville. And I don't think I've ever actually been to the city of Jacksonville, but I have family outside of Jacksonville. So they live in Fernandina Beach, which is like 45 minutes away. So when I heard that there was going to be a team in Jacksonville, that made me really excited. So once I saw that, I was like, wow, that would be a team I definitely want to go to when I finish my college career. And my dad is also a really big fan of Tim Tebow. So when he heard he was one of the owners of the team, he was like, oh, like I'd really want you to play there. That would be awesome. So yeah.
All right, so multiple reasons to be excited for Katie Sullivan.
That's excellent. Yeah, no, that's going to mean so much too because she'll have family at matches. You know, all right, that's awesome.
So one of the things, Mauricio, that we've talked a lot about internally is finding those ways to provide access to a common ground between players and fans. And one of the ways that's one of those ways where fans and players create that connection is when there is a common ground. How perfect is it? Listen, there are a lot of Tim Tebow fans in our area, and there are a lot of folks who love going up to Fernandina Beach and Amelia Island and vacationing. So here's some common ground touch points for fans as they start to learn more and more about these new players.
Yeah, and I mean, oftentimes we give pro athletes a bad name because we see the ones that are really, really harassed out on the street that can't even go shopping, and we think that they don't want to be around fans. But the 99 other percent of professional athletes, part of being a professional athlete is actually that you do get a little bit harassed, that you do get asked to be met in public and to go to different events. That's a little bit, outside of playing, obviously earning a living, you want to be that person that goes out into the community and get to meet people and get to talk and get a little bit of fan base around you. And then when you have an attachment to the city, as some of the players, as you mentioned, have, now they can connect even further. They can be a bit of a poster player for the city, and that encourages them even more. So anytime that our marketing team or PR team or broadcast team said, hey, we need players to get out into the community to do a couple pieces and events, having players that want to be part of the fabric of the program and of the city means a lot, especially in professional sports, and professional soccer is a unique one that really means a lot when you can connect the fans to the players.
Yeah, no, in our social media and Cole's broadcasting department, we do such a good job. So I think there will be recognition, not like when Cole goes to, Winn-Dixie or whatever, but, or like Messi at Publix.
Very
that
similar.
was amazing.
Very
Yeah,
similar.
Yeah, so, you get shout outs and all that. But I do think there will be some recognition as these women start doing amazing things. And this is another thing, and this is just a an adjacent point here is that, with this young talent in the way, we're a Division I league, pro, there's literally eyeballs on our league and on these players around the world. They have a real opportunity to use Sporting JAX to advance their careers. I mean, this is great. They're signed. They're playing pro. But we could be a stepping stone, which I think is also super exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, we may be signing some players who will play for us for 10 years. That'd be great. There are other leagues in this world, and some of them will want to play internationally. Some who have played internationally now want to come back and play in the United States.
Yeah.
We had that conversation with Caroline Murray, which is a big one for her. So this stage between now and the start of games, when people can start, and I think I may have done this on the podcast before. I don't know. Have I gone through my 4 ways that fans find connections with players before, Tony? If I have, I'll be redundant here. But
if you have, I wasn't listening.
Okay, well that's 50-50.
Yeah.
So I'll just go through real quickly. Number 1 is a player does something important in a game the fan finds to be important. Now, whether it's a playoff game or a rivalry game or the season opener or the championship game or a game where you went to the game with your dad or you brought your daughter.
A core memory.
Whatever. Right. Created a core memory based on a performance on the field. Number 2 is a virtual, and these are not in any particular order, a virtual buy-in. And that happens with, if you have the player in a fantasy league, or you play them on a video game, or an action figure, or a bobblehead, whatever that is, and they're playing with it. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is a personal encounter. So you meet this person somewhere out in public, or an event
in Publix,
or out in Publix. Either way, and then 4 is finding common ground, and that's really the way the player really controls half of step 1. The other part of it has to be that the fan finds that game to be important, and it may become important based on what the player does. If the player goes out and scores 5 goals in a match or something, well, all of a sudden that has made that match important to a lot of people. The personal encounters, we can help facilitate some of that with our events. I don't know how many USL Super League fantasy leagues there are out there. I know there's not a video game yet. Maybe some bobbleheads. But we can work on that. But then the biggest thing is providing that common ground so that a fan knows, hey, this player has family in Fernandina Beach, or this player went to Florida, or this player has a dachshund. I have a dachshund. I'll whatever that might be to provide those ways to connect and find common ground. This is a working theory that I have had for 25 or 30 years. It initially just had the 3, and then fantasy sports and video games and so forth. Somebody mentioned that and said, oh, you know what, that's true. So I've added that in. There may be other ways, other bullet points that would go into that, but those are some of the the 4
That's
key
excellent,
ones.
and that seems like something. If you're a budding star, for your just sort of NIL folder on your computer, that these are good things to kind of sort of recognize, and make sure that you're engageable and and working on that. I know Mauricio works a lot with as an agent, or helps players find their path or whatever. I think that would be useful to him too, right, Mauricio?
Why, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime you can connect, the world of soccer is interesting. Like, as big as it is, and as big as the it's global, and we feel like we're really far away. The deeper you get into the game, and this, Tony, like from some of the travels that you've had, where you just go and visit somewhere, and all of a sudden you're at a place where they just open up the doors for you, and you realize that it's just common people that just have a passion that just decided to be silly enough to jump in. And when you realize that they're all doing the same thing, it all connects. Like, that's that big world that we think that is so expensive and it's so big. When you get intertwined in it, when you're especially in the professional environment, it all has just one more layer of separation to like the next thing. Like, we're not that far away as a professional organization. It may seem like to the outside world, but to a Newcastle, to even here, like a Benfica, or to something bigger, it's, so there's all these benefits of being connected into the fabric of within the network and the fraternity of professional sport. And when you're in it, you discover a whole new world that maybe you thought you didn't have access to.
All right, cue the Disney song now, A Whole New World. Soccer-wise. All right, let's maybe not cue it. Copyright infringement.
Uncue, because it was so close.
It
so, sounded like a recording.
I thought for a second somebody pushed play on the Aladdin soundtrack. We do want to remind you
Killed that.
that season tickets are on sale now for the Sporting JAX debut in the USL Super League, the Gainbridge Super League. We'll re-cue that also. Fix that. Season tickets include as low as $10 per game for students. You get reserve, club, and premium seating. Field side seating is also available. Also an installment plan. If you want to pay over time, you get all the benefits of season ticket ownership from your first installment. Go to sportingjax.com/tickets or call 904-863-KICK.
May I, on that note, to say that if you're picky about your seats, like you have to have the seat back and you want to be in club or you want to be on the sideline seats, really highly recommend you get your tickets soon.
Yes.
These matches, you will not be lonely. And I think there's a real chance that if you leave it too late, some of the selection may not be there for you.
Yes.
Just FYI.
That's a good hint without revealing too much.
Yeah, I don't want to say too much.
Right. We've had great responses.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Yep.
USL Super League final last Saturday. Tampa Bay Sun, a 1-0 victory over Fort Lauderdale United. Cecilia flew with his goal in the 100th minute. Tony was there. Give me a report.
Well, so couple things. I stayed downtown Tampa. I walked to the match. That was magical. When we do get our stadium, which we are still working on, and it's going to be great, to be able to walk to a match, if you're staying, if you're visiting or whatever, is pretty amazing. And so that was really cool. The environment and the atmosphere was it had to be sold out. I'm not sure.
It was.
Okay,
yeah. It was actually beyond their capacity by like 6, I think.
You could tell.
Yeah.
But the energy was there. Tons of Fort Lauderdale fans. You got to give them credit for showing up, because they did. The supporter section for the Sun, super loud and boisterous and super good. There was some pyro. There was just, for an end-to-end game, 0-0 for 100+ minutes. It was a sizzler, man. It was really entertaining, really good. The Gainbridge Super League, I think, for an inaugural championship final, absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, you'd love to have seen more goals, of course.
Sure,
but it was a compelling game. I thought first half both teams were kind of feeling the moment. Maybe not wanting to make an early mistake, being a little tentative, hesitant.
Not a ton of possession either early. That was a little hallmark there.
Yeah. In the end, Fort Lauderdale only had one shot on target, which really speaks to the way Tampa defended. Mauricio, your thoughts on the first championship of the books now for the USL what will now be known as the Gainbridge Super League?
Yeah, I actually thought the game might have gone into PKs the way that he was going, because you're right. Like, first half was a little bit timid from both teams, filling each other out, and you get that a lot in the finals. And the second half really kind of turns it up. We also know that goals change games. So if there are no goals, both teams are just kind of waiting each other out. But I mean, they're 22-17 shot, for both clubs. And as you mentioned, Tony, like, it was an exciting game. That even though there was 0-0 throughout regulation, like, it was an exciting game. But when it got to overtime, obviously legs kind of get tired, the heat component on it. I thought the game was going to go PKs, which was going to give everybody a little bit of free soccer at the end, and it would have been kind of neat for the last game of the season to end in the very last possible moment of the season on PKs. But I think the league is, it has done a really, really good job of bringing not just a league, but a quality product that you can see the opportunity that it's going to go, right? Like, you can see the pathway, with oftentimes you can't, but this one you can see clearly the pathway that it's only going to get better. And teams like Sporting JAX joining it and others that will be announced in the future, it's going to be a really competitive league. It
is, and just to pile onto that too. So we were kind of by a corner flag where the Fort Lauderdale bench was, where the subs would warm up, and many of them got in. There was a couple of them that I was so impressed with. That once they got on, I wish I'd have done a little more homework before I came in. I'll think of the name next time. But one of the women from Fort Lauderdale came on, and she made a move in the box, really kind of opened up like a can the Tampa Bay defense, and got super close. It might have been the one shot on goal or on frame, but that speaks to the depth. This is just a sub that came on really, really late and almost changed the game.
All right, we'll look forward to beginning the rivalries with both teams, including the first road match.
Yeah, they're both dead to me now.
Well, you're right,
yeah.
but now it's an opportunity to look ahead.
Yeah.
We open at home against DC Power on August the 23rd, then the following weekend at Tampa against the defending champs. What a way to start the season. We'll be looking forward to that next year. If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with Sporting JAX, we have a lot of ways to do so, including the Sporting JAX Report, which comes to you this weekend. If we are recording this, by the way, on June the 19th, on Thursday morning at the Gemstone Media Studios.
Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth to you. Saturday noon, ABC 25. Make sure to check your listings during the time outside of the Premier League schedule instead of being right before Premier League games, since there aren't any. It moves around a little bit on the weekends on either First Coast News, ABC 25, or NBC 12. You can also join us every Tuesday at 6 for the Coaches Show on 1010XL with Mark Warburton, Stacey Balaam, and me. Also, you can listen live and on demand at 1010XL.com. And the Sporting JAX Soccer Hour every Thursday night at 6 on AM 930, Fox Sports Radio Jacksonville. Mauricio and Becky Burley and myself appear there every week. All right. Let's look ahead to what's still to come for Sporting JAX. We are, as we record this, 19 days until the start of training camp, I believe, if I'm doing my math right, which is a 50-50 proposition. Here's
14% of people know that.
Yeah, well, 80% of statistics are made up on the spot. So one of the things to note is that I have 5 bullet points here, and I want to know from you, what are you most anticipating between now and the start of training camp? More player announcements, the announcement of our preseason friendlies, one more addition to the coaching staff, TV schedule for game broadcasts, and some events to kick off the season. What are you looking forward to? Some of those events might happen after training camp opens, by the way.
Well, Mal, you want to go first?
I'll actually, this might sound really, really slow, and it's not because of the Wi-Fi, but I lost. I was so focused on the first couple ones and what's coming that I don't know that I remember more than 2 out of the 5.
All right. Well,
pick one. Pick your favorite.
They are listed on the rundown on your computer screen, so you can go to that.
I think I'm just gonna blame it on the Wi-Fi.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Listen, like I'm a coach. I'm a coach at heart, right? And so I want to see games. I think preseason friendlies is something that I'm really, really excited about. We got preseason coming as far as training camp is about to start. And I think that's kind of where I got lost. I saw preseason friendlies. I'm going like, what's more exciting than for the inaugural season for us to have games to play and to watch? I was like waiting for the next thing, but my mind I got stuck on preseason friendlies because you want to see the games and the players. That's what they want to see, these new additions and the coaching staff all kind of come together. So that's what really excites me right now.
We either know or think we know these preseason friendlies. We're waiting on things to be finalized with some locations and times and so forth. But I think folks are going to be pretty excited about these preseason.
Yeah,
matchups.
I was actually wondering if we were going to break it this pod, but we can break it next pod.
Yeah.
It may not be completely ready for prime time yet. But yes, and I have to agree with Mal. I hate that you made 5 bullet points and we're only using 1. But the preseason friendlies are really like. I'll just say this without saying too much, which I've been accused of before. These are our 2 first matches are household soccer names.
Yeah.
So
For sure. All right. I am going to part from the group here.
Diverge.
I'm going to diverge and say I'm very excited to be able to announce when we get it all signed off on, our broadcast schedule. I had a conversation with somebody in the league yesterday, and I was asking them some questions about different language and contracts and things like that. And one of the things that I asked was, who else is doing this sort of thing in the Super League? The answer, nobody. We are, from the inception, I believe, going to be setting the standard for broadcast coverage in the USL Super League. Now, there are some teams doing similar things in the championship that we'll continue to do once the championship team ramps up. But I'm very excited to be able to talk about what we're doing as a broadcast division with regard to the Super League team. We're going to be leading the way.
Yes, my mom always says that we are a broadcast company that has 2 soccer teams.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. So,
if that's the case, can you come in and negotiate my next contract?
Right, yeah. She would do great, actually, for that.
I should bring her in.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the time in the podcast where Tony breaks.
Wait, you have a contract? What am I doing? Okay.
Hey, it was your.
Right.
You started this thing.
Hey.
You can't sign a contract with yourself.
I have to start paying attention.
Yeah.
Nice.
This is the point in the show when Tony breaks format.
Yes. So, June 21st, 2 days away. It's this Saturday, if you're listening on delay. We are ramping back up. I talked about it last time, but we have had such a good uptick of rising 6th through 12th graders. This camp that we're doing 10 a.m. at KIP, you got to go to sportingjax.com/foundation to register. Registrations are going extremely well. These are for kids that want to try out for their middle school team or their high school team. A lot of kids all over the city don't have access to club soccer, don't have access to fields, training, etc. We're doing that on the north side, and it's completely free, and we're doing it all summer long.
It's great.
Yep.
Looking forward to that. All right. I think that'll do it for this week. We're going to have a lot to talk about next week with more players to hear from.
Next week is a banger with the international.
Yes.
Oh, what? Did I say too much?
Oh, you may have said too much. All right. We'll see. We'll see how it all turns out. For Mauricio Ruiz and Tony Allegretti, I'm Cole Pepper. Thanks so much for listening to The Sporting Pod.